Okay. Yeah, no need to call sir. Okay, so you can just call me Tushar. Okay, there is no issues. So let's get started. So before we discuss about the DevOps guys, okay, so let's discuss some of the basic concepts. Okay, so later on we'll go to the DevOps. Recording is started. Okay, the session is recorded. Okay. Fine. So guys, in IT industries, guys, whenever we are going to develop a new product, okay, or a software, okay, so we are going to follow some of the life cycle here. That means how we have to develop this software, right? So okay, so for that we are using one life cycle here. Okay, so that is called as a, we call it as a software development life cycle. Okay, so we call it as SDLC. Okay, so in order to develop any of the software in an IT industries, okay, we are following this life cycle, guys. Okay, there is a software development life cycle. So under that we are following the waterfall model. Okay, we are following the waterfall model, guys. Okay, what's the message again? Yeah, so waterfall model. So let's discuss what are all the steps involved in a waterfall model, guys. Okay, so fine, guys. Okay, so assume, yeah, so assume, guys, you are working for any one of the bank like HDFC Bank, or assume they are clients here. Okay, and you're working for any of the organization like Deloitte or Capgemini or any other company organization. So what they are going to do here is, so basically first what they are going to do is they will be having an one meeting. Okay, at those meetings, what this business analyst will be there. Okay, so these business analysts will have an interaction with our client here, like HDFC or any other clients. Okay, so they will be giving the requirements here, like my product should be like this and so and so. Okay, so the first phase in a waterfall model here is the requirement phase in a waterfall model. Okay, so requirement phase here. So under this requirement phase, as I told you, here we are going to take the requirement from the client here, right? Okay, so and what we will do is, once we get the requirement here, we will have an interaction with our developers and team leads here, and then what they are going to do is they are going to design here. Okay, they are going to design the application, right? So the next stage in the waterfall model is called as a design phase. Okay, design phase. So once the design is ready, like in this phase our team leads will be involved and tech leads will be involved here. So under this phase here, so our tech leads and our team leads will be involved here, and they are going to, I mean, what are the technologies we require in order to achieve the client's requirement here. Okay, so those things they are going to think of it, and they are going to design that. Okay, so based on the design or based on the requirement here, then what they are going to do is they are going to write the code. So who is going to write the code here? Our developers, right? So the next phase in a waterfall model is called as a implementation or coding. Implementation or coding phase. Okay, so once the developer writes the code as per the requirement got from our client here, then what they are going to do is we have to test here, test this application. Because see, assume I am the developer means 100% I will say my code is correct, but that is not going to work, right? Because in a real time one or the other issues may come. Okay, and because of that it may impact my business as well, right? Okay, so for that what we are going to do is we are going to test this application with the n number of scenarios, right? Okay, the next phase in a waterfall model is called as a testing phase. Okay, what is called testing phase here. So under this testing phase we are going to test this application with the n number of scenarios here, right? So based on that, if there any issue is there, then we have to check, right? So once the testing is done, then what we can do, we can deploy the code to our production servers, right? So the next phase in the waterfall model is called as a deployment phase. Okay, deployment phase here. So under deployment phase we are going to deploy the code to the servers. Okay, so once the deployment is done, so somebody has to maintain this application, right? Because the daily one or the other issues may come, like the user may get lock here, right? I mean, user may get disable, right? So some other issues as well, right? So the next stage in the waterfall model is called as a maintenance phase. Okay, maintenance phase here. Okay, so this is what the rough diagram of the waterfall model here, guys. Okay, so if you check this waterfall model, guys, okay, each phase is interdependent on the previous phase, right? Let's say, assume you are a test engineer, right? Okay, so unless until the developer writes the code here, you will be sitting idle, right? Like the same here, unless until the test engineer writes performs the testing and assures that the code is perfect. Okay, so these system admins will be sitting idle here, and we are paying the salary for them, right? Okay, so because of that, what happens here, the resource utilize the demerits of the waterfall model here. Okay, demerits of the waterfall model here is resource utilization is less, right? Resource utilization is less because unnecessary, because the employees are sitting idle here and we are paying the salary for them, right? Okay, so resource utilization is less here. Okay, that is one of the demerit. Once again, okay, then and each phase, guys, here, okay, what you're seeing, the requirement phase, design, implementation, testing, deployment, maintenance. So each phase is a manual here. That is the deployment, we are going to do it in a manual here. It is not automated, it is manual. Okay, so the second phase, I mean the second demerit in a waterfall model is called as deployment is manual. Okay, see guys, since the deployment is manual, there is a, see, that is a human nature, right, of making the mistakes. So since the deployment is manual here, there is a chance of getting the application failure is also less, I mean high here, right? Once we are performing the deployment to the production servers, right? That is also one of the demerit here, right? Then in order to complete this entire life cycle here, guys, what you're the seeing from starting from requirement to till deployment or maintenance. So in order to complete the entire life cycle, okay, it may take, okay, it may take 6 to 8 months. Okay, it may take 6 to 8 months in order to complete one life cycle here. That means it requires us 6 to 8 months to deliver the product, we can say. Okay, it requires 6 to 8 months to deliver this product, right? Assume, guys, if you are using this waterfall model, if it is taking 6 to 8 months, okay, assume that if any other organization, okay, delivers the same product within that within that duration here, okay, then whatever the application which we have developed, it will become outdated, right? So once the application is outdated, then whatever the infrastructure and whatever the coding we have done by the developers, everything is failure now, because in the organization, I mean, not in the organization, the end users requires the always the updated version, right? Okay, that is one of the demerit in a waterfall model here, guys. Okay, then okay, in this life cycle, let's say, guys, post doing the deployment here. Okay, assume that okay, the test engineer finds the some bugs or a fix, I mean bugs or any issues in the coding here. Okay, then assume, guys, here, see, starting from here, we have write the code, wrote the, sorry, we have wrote the code template, we had done our developer has wrote the code, our test engineers has done the testing here. Then when you perform, I mean when you done the deployment to the production server, if you find any issue in the coding here, then it is not easy to go back, right? Okay, as I told you, it requires 6 to 8 months here to complete this one product. At the end point of time, if you come to know some issue in the coding here, right, then it is not easy to fix that, right? Okay, then the one more demerit in a waterfall model is it's difficult fix the bug post deployment. Okay, yeah, fine, guys. Okay, so these are all some of the demerits in a waterfall model here, guys, right? Okay, so in order to overcome this issue, okay, what we are doing is we are following the agile methodology. In order to overcome this waterfall model, we are using this agile methodology. Okay, so in this agile methodology, guys, okay, sorry, sorry, I just went fast. Okay, so in order to overcome this issue, guys, with that is from the DevOps, not from DevOps, regarding this waterfall model, DevOps comes into the picture. Okay, DevOps comes into the picture. So in a DevOps here, okay, we are following agile methodology. Okay, in a DevOps, we are following the agile methodology. Okay, agile methodology, we are following sprints. Okay, sprints or iteration. Okay, so the duration of the sprints or iteration, guys, it is 1 to 2 weeks here. Okay, so as you are saying, in a waterfall model, it takes 6 to 8 months here to complete this project, right? Whereas in a agile methodology, it is only 1 to 2 weeks, right? Okay, then here, as you can see, the deployment is manual here. Okay, and one more thing, guys, here the requirement will take it in a single shot. Okay, okay, we'll take the requirement in a single shot, whereas in agile methodology, we'll take requirement in a small modules. Okay, we'll take the requirements in a small modules here, guys. Okay, I have a picture, let me show you. I think, yeah, this is the one. Okay, so in a agile sorry, just a second. So in a waterfall model, guys, okay, so as you are seeing this picture, okay, so here like this, we'll take the entire requirement here in a one single shot. Okay, you see how much difficulty here is, right? If you take the entire requirement and we have to write the code in one single shot, right? Okay, as compared to the same with the agile methodology, here what we will do is we will take the requirements like this small modules here. Okay, first module will get it and we'll deliver that to the client here. Okay, see, every 1 or 2 weeks we are delivering something to our client here, right? Then that client will also be happy saying that, yeah, my product is getting ready here, right? So daily, I mean weekly we are delivering the some of the updates to the client here. Okay, and obviously they will be happy, correct? So that is what the advantage of using the agile methodology. Okay, then as I told you here, the deployment is manual here, in a waterfall model, whereas in a DevOps, that is in an agile methodology, deployment is automated. So let's discuss how we can automate this using the DevOps. Okay, so if you split this word DevOps here, guys, okay, if you split this word DevOps here, so what exactly DevOps is? Okay, so DevOps means Dev stands for development, okay, and Ops stands for operations. Okay, so if you split these two words DevOps, so Dev stands for development and Ops stands for operations, guys. So DevOps is not a new technology here, guys. So what is DevOps? So DevOps is not a new technology here. Okay, DevOps is a new strategy here. Okay, in order to automate the process here, guys. Okay, so what is DevOps? So two teams, that is development and operations. The two teams, let me write it out. Two teams collaboratively works together is called DevOps, right? And it is not a new strategy, guys. It is sorry, it is not a new technology here. It is a new strategy of developing any of the any of the process. So two teams work collaboratively works together is called a DevOps here. So DevOps is not a new tool here. Tool. So DevOps is a new strategy of developing an software product. Okay, fine. So most important here, deployment is automated. Okay, so let's discuss how we can achieve this automation using this DevOps here, guys. Okay, let me take a new this one. Divya, any issues? You are disconnecting and joining again and again. Okay, so fine, guys. Yeah, now let's discuss how we can achieve this using the DevOps automation. Okay, so assume, guys, I have a developers like this. Okay, let's say I have a three developers. Okay, so I have a three developers here. So what this developer will be doing, obviously they'll be writing the source code, right? Okay, so okay, so these developers will write the source code, guys. Okay, whatever the programming language, ignore right now. Okay, so these developers will write the source code here. Okay, now as I told you, we are working in terms of module here, right? Let's say this is the developer A and developer B and developer C here. Okay, now let's say this developer A requires the code wrote by the developer C here. Okay, so how we these here? Okay, so in a real time, guys, we are not supposed to share this source code here via any of the communication media, guys, like WhatsApp, Gmail, Facebook, or any other media, any other communication media as well, right? Okay, if you perform, I'm mail as well. Okay, if you perform such tasks, okay, then you will be fired immediately. Okay, so don't do such activities. So in order to overcome this issue, guys, we are using the VCS. Okay, we are using VCS. So what is this VCS? So VCS stands for version control system. Okay, so the example for this VCS is Git, SVN, and Subversion. Okay, now what is the use of this VCS in the sense? So this developer, whenever they write the source code, okay, and what they will do, they will push us that source code to this VCS here, like this. Okay, they will push us the source code to this VCS here. Now, they assume this if the developer A requires the code written by this developer C here, so he will not check with this guy here. Okay, he will check with this repository. If the code is available in this repository, he will fetch us that code and he can start updating that code here. Okay, so that is what the advantage of using the VCS here. That is a version control system, and the example for this is VCS. VCS stands for version control system. Okay, so the example for VCS is git svn subversion, etc. Guys, there are a number of VCS are available, okay, in a market. So example of these are some of the examples. There is a gate, svn subversion, and all, right? Okay, so now we have a code, guys. Now this is a raw source code. So in a simple language, if you want to say, means it is just like our raw materials. Okay, so using this raw materials, we have to prepare the food here, right? Okay, so it is just like a ingredients now. Okay, we cannot have these ingredients directly, right? We have to prepare the food here. Okay, so now we have the source code. So using this source code, we have to prepare the food. So that means we have to make this code as an executable code here. Okay, so for that, we are using the build tool. We are using build tool. Okay, so build tool in the sense. So using this build tool, okay, build tool. Okay, example for this build tool like Ant, Maven, and Gradle. Okay, so these are all some of the build tool here. So what this build tool will perform here in the sense, so this build tool, whatever the code is available, okay, whatever the code which the developer has wrote, right, you will take that code and you'll make that code as an executable code here, guys. Okay, like in a Windows machine, you might have saw the .exe file, that is an executable code, that is an executable file here, right? So like the same, using this build tool, we are making the raw source code into an executable code here, guys. How? Using this build tool. So under build tool, we have the three types. Okay, that is, I mean, example I'm saying, okay, we can use the and we can use the Maven, or we can use the Gradle here. Okay, using any one of this build tool, we can make the raw source code into an executable code here, guys. Okay, yeah, sure, Deepthi, no issues. So so this build, okay, build tool. Okay, so whenever this developer commits the code to those VCS, okay, that is a version control system. So under the VCS, we will be having the raw source code, guys. Okay, that is the, it is not a executable code here. It is just a code. Okay, it is not executable code. In the normal language, if you want to say, it is just like a ingredients. Okay, so using these ingredients, we have to prepare the food here, right? So like the same here, we are using the build tool. So what this build tool will perform here in the sense, so this build tool will makes the raw source code into an executable code here. Okay, that means using these ingredients, we are preparing the food here. That is the build tool performs here. That means it will make the raw source code into an executable code. Okay, so how we can perform? Using any one of this tool we can use. Either we can use the Ant or a Maven or Gradle. Okay, using any one of this build tool, we can make the raw source code into an executable code here, guys. Okay, is it fine, Deepthi? Yeah, okay, fine, guys. So now we have a code, right? So now we have an executable code now. Okay, yeah. So Okay, so now we have three developers, right, guys? Okay, so some might be the intelligent developers, some might be the poor developer here. Okay, but the organization wants to maintain the standard in their source code, because once the code has been deployed to the end users, okay, they don't want to make any issues in that. Okay, they want to maintain some standard here. That is the quality of the source code. Okay, so being a human, it is not easy to check the quality of the source code here, right? Okay, that means it will be having the thousands together line will be there. Okay, it is not easy to check line by line, right? So for that, what we are doing is we are using one more tool here that is called as a SonarQube. Okay, SonarQube. So what is this SonarQube performs here in a sense? So whatever the code wrote by this our developer, right? So this SonarQube will scans the entire source code wrote by our developers. Okay, and then it generates a report here. Okay, so once the report is saying that accuracy of the source code is achieved around 80%, 85% like that, then we can go for the deployment. That is the next process. Unless until we cannot go. Okay, that means the quality of the source code is not up to the mark here. Okay, so that a task is performed by our SonarQube here. Okay, now we have everything, guys. Okay, that is we have a code and we can scan. I mean, we are generating the report using the SonarQube in order to check the quality of the source code, right? Okay, so in a build tool, guys, as I told you, it is going to make the code as a executable code here, guys. Okay, and one more thing I forgot here, executable code here, like for Java based applications, it is going to create a like a .jar and dot var and dot EAR. So what is this jar? So jar stands for Java Archives. Okay, whereas var stands for Web Archives and EAR stands for Enterprise Archives. Okay, if it is a Java based application. Okay, if it is a .NET, okay, it is simple. It is simply generates a .zip file. Okay, so even Maven supports for the .NET project as well, guys. Okay, internally the Microsoft is having their own tool, that is the micro MS build, that is a Microsoft build. Most of the organization they are using that MS build only. Okay, but Maven supports the .NET projects as well. Okay, so fine, guys, assume, guys, okay, so assume we have deployed this code. Okay, whatever the code we have, I mean the executable code which we have generated here. Okay, so that code we have deployed it to our one of the server here, like a production server or dev server, whatever it is. Okay, so just we have deployed that code to the server here. Okay, assume we have, I mean we have deployed that code, and assume that, guys, okay, that code is having some issues. Okay, I want to revert that code back. Okay, how can I revert it? So if you are doing it in a manual process, so what we can do is we can take the backup of the executable code, then we have to place that new code, right? That is a manual task. Okay, I don't want to do it in a manual here. Okay, so for that we are using one more tool here, that is the Artifactory repository. We call it as a Nexus. Okay, Nexus is a Artifactory repository, guys. That means whatever the code, whatever the build tool has made the artifacts here, right? That is the jar, EA, or var here. Okay, so these artifacts we are publishing it to our Nexus here. Okay, why? Because in order to keep the backup, okay, if anything goes wrong, we can check with our Nexus server and get that same code back and deploy it to our production server or any other server as well. Okay, so just for a backup purpose here. Okay, apart from that, it is not doing anything else, right? So this is what the tool here, that is Nexus. Now comes the one of the most important, that is the CI tool, that is a Jenkins. So sorry CI tool. Okay, CI tool stands for continuous integration, guys. CI stands for continuous integration. Okay, so continuous integration, the example for this is Jenkins, Hudson, Bamboo. Okay, like many other are there, guys. Okay, number of tools are there in the market right now. Okay, we can use any one of this as a CI tool. Okay, CI stands for continuous integration. As the name suggests here, guys, continuous integration. That means we are integrating all these tools with our CI tool. Okay, like this. So what we will do, we will integrate all the tools, whatever the tools we have, we will integrate with our CI tool here. Like example, Jenkins. Okay, in a Jenkins, we will integrate that tool to our all the tools with our Jenkins here, like this. Okay, so once we integrate here, guys, what we will do, we will create a one job in a Jenkins. Okay, and this Jenkins will automatically fetches the code from our VCS. Okay, so what we need to do is once we have to integrate with all these tools with our CI tool, that is an example the Jenkins I'm saying. Okay, so in a Jenkins we have to create a one job for each product, guys. Okay, sorry, not product, project. Okay, we have to create a one job for each project. So this Jenkins, what it is going to do is it is going to check with this VCS automatically, not manually, guys, automatically I'm saying. Okay, automatically with this VCS. Okay, if there is any updated code is available, this Jenkins will send the code to the SonarQube. Why? In order to check the quality of the source code, guys, right? Okay, so once the SonarQube assures that the quality of the source code is so and so percent, what this Jenkins will do is this Jenkins will send the code to our build tool. Why? In order to create the artifacts like this, like the jar, var, or EAR. Okay, if it is a Java based application, or if it is a .NET, it is going to create a .zip as a artifacts, whatever the file name, but the extension will be jar, var, or EAR. Okay, so once it is done, so what this Jenkins will do, so this Jenkins will automatically pushes that code to our Nexus as well. Why? In order to keep backup of the artifacts, right? Okay, so yes, everything is automated. We are not at all doing anything manual task here. It's everything is automated here. Okay, so fine, guys, now we have everything. Now we can go for the deployment, right? Okay, so for deployment we can use any one of the, like a web server, we can use the Tomcat. Tomcat or Wildfly server, guys. Okay, so once we have this server, what we can do, again same thing, we have to integrate that web server with our CI tool, that is a Jenkins. Okay, once you integrate it, so automatically the code is also going to deploy here, right? See, guys, everything is automated, right? We are not at all doing anything single step as a manual task here. Everything is automated task, correct? Okay, okay, guys, whatever the questions is there, I will ask later on. Okay, yeah, now okay, so guys, if it is yeah, so this is what are the single server. Like if it is a simple application, then whatever the task we have done, it is okay. Okay, it is perfect, right? Assume, guys, if it is any critical application like net banking or e-commerce application, right? If the code is deployed in one single server, if anything goes wrong with that server, okay, then our application will go down. So when the application goes down, so obviously it will impact on our business here, right? Okay, so in order to overcome this issue, guys, what we are going to do is we are deploying the code into a multiple servers. Okay, okay. So fine, guys. Now, assume I'm working for any one of the. Assume I am working for Amazon here, right? Now my Amazon application has to be deployed in these three servers. Like why? Because if one server goes down, another two servers will be up and running, and my end users will be connecting to the application, and they are performing that activity, their activity, right? Okay, now whatever the architecture which I've shown now, okay, so if I have a three servers, okay, then do I need to create the three jobs here, right? That is not a, that also works guys, but that is not a recommended way here. Okay, so for that what we can do is we can use a one more intermediate tool here, that is the configuration management tool. Okay, configuration management tool here, example for this is, okay, configuration management tool, example for this is Ansible, Chef, and Puppet. Okay, so these are all some of the examples of the configuration management tool guys. So what this configuration management tool performs here, okay, so this Jenkins, I mean we have to integrate this configuration management tool with our Jenkins here like this guys. Okay, once you integrate this, so this configuration management tool will performs the deployment into these servers automatically guys, and we no need to create a three jobs separately here in a Jenkins. Okay, so like this we will integrate. Now this config, let's say when the when the Jenkins is having the artifact like a jarvar or EAR, okay, instead of deploying the directly to the server, what we are going to do is we are pushing that executable code to our configuration management tool. Okay, so this configuration management tool will deploys the code to this destination servers here guys. Okay, in a normal language if you want to say means, okay, so assume this is what your television here and this is what your remote control. Okay, how you guys are operating your television guys, using remote only, right? You are not going physically here, correct, and operating the television, right? We are operating it from the config, your TV remote. So like the same, whatever the task he wants to perform in this destination servers, okay, we no need to log in at all. Okay, we can perform those such activities in this configuration management tool only. Okay, and the changes is going to reflect into these destination servers guys. Okay, that is what the configuration management tool performs here. Okay, so fine guys, now next comes the one more important tool, that is the containerization tool here, that is the Docker. Okay, so this Docker also we can integrate with our Jenkins guys. Okay, so what is this Docker here? Okay, as the name suggests here, containerization tool. Okay, containerization, you might have saw the containers in the highways, right? They are going to transport the vehicles, transportation of your utensils, right? Some of the other transportation. Okay, so here also they are performing the same thing here guys. Okay, so we are the Docker containers we are using. Why? Because let's say if you're not using the Docker containers, how we are going to deploy the code here guys, right? So you'll be having on one machine. Okay, under that machine you'll be deploying your application and everything, right? So that we cannot ship from one location to, logically I'm saying that is from one Windows machine to Linux machine I'm saying, right? We cannot ship like that, right? Okay, or to the Mac machine, right? Or else in another one simple language we can say means, like assume I'm the developer, okay, I have wrote some code, okay, and it is working fine in my machine, okay, because I have set some of the environment variables or any other dependencies as well. Okay, assume my other developer requires the same code. Okay, when I give that same code to him, okay, it may not give the same output which I am getting. Why? Because his machine is different and my machine is different, some other dependency configuration as well. Okay, so in order to overcome this issue guys, we are using this Docker containers. So under this Docker containers, we'll be having your operating system, you'll be having your application, you will be having your database, web server, each and everything guys, okay, in one single container. Okay, and the size of this container will be very less guys here. Okay, the size of the containers will be very less. Okay, because of this less size, we are shipping this container from one location to another location. That means not physically, guys. That means we can ship this Docker containers from Windows to Linux or Linux to Mac or vice versa here. Okay, but the only condition is the Docker engine must be up and running. That is the only one prerequisite. The Docker engine has to be up and running. Okay, and why we are using, mainly because of microservice architecture here. Okay, as I told you, microservice architecture. Yeah, let me open Amazon.in. Okay, so earlier days, guys. Okay, if you are going to do the deployment in the sense you are going, yeah, like Amazon application. Okay, if you are not using the microservice architecture, we will be having an one web artifacts. Okay, using how we are going to create, using the build tool Maven or Ant or Gradle. Okay, if you want to upgrade your application here, okay, what we need to do is we have to down your application, right? Then we have to deploy it, okay, to the same location. So what is the advantage of using this microservice architecture? So let's say, guys, as you're seeing this Amazon.in, here you'll be seeing the sign in and returns and card, right? So what internally it is working here in the sense, so for this sign in only we'll be having a one service. Okay, for returns we'll be having one service and card will be having a one service, right? Example I'm saying. Okay, if you want to upgrade your sign in application, sign in service here, okay, then we no need to down this entire application, guys. Okay, we can take only this sign in service down, okay, and perform your activities, okay, and take this application back, right? At this point of time your application will be working and it will not impact your business as well, right? Okay, so because of this architecture, microservice architecture, Docker comes into the picture, guys. Okay, so Docker is very less here. I mean, the size of this Docker containers will be very less here, guys. So using this Docker containers also we can do the deployment as well. Okay, yeah, so now, guys, everything is in control, right? Everything is automated. We are not at all doing anything manual task here, right? Yeah, now, guys, assume we are working for this Amazon here. So being a human, we cannot, I mean, we cannot come and check whether my application is working fine or no, right? Okay, so for that what we are going to do is we are using one of the monitoring tool here in order to monitor our application. Okay, monitoring tool, okay, like Zavex, Nagios, or App Dynamics. A number of monitoring tools are available in the market, guys. Okay, we can use any one of this. Okay, so what this monitoring tool will perform here is, so it is going to monitor this entire infrastructure as well as your application as well. Okay, so if anything goes wrong with this application or infrastructure, okay, they are going to use one of the ticketing, I mean, this monitoring tool will send the notification to the supporting team member, guys. Okay, so they are going to send a, sorry, they are going to send, this monitoring tool will send the notification to this supporting team member, guys. So this supporting team member, okay, so based on the request, using any one of the ticketing tool here, guys, like Jira, right, or ServiceNow, or any other ticketing tool, guys. Okay, so using this ticketing tool, this supporting team member is going to raise the ticket, guys. Okay, see, if anything goes wrong with your infrastructure here, okay, sorry, if anything goes wrong with your application here, so they are going to raise a ticket to the application team. Okay, see, if anything goes wrong with your infrastructure level, they are going to raise a ticket to the DevOps engineers, guys. Okay, so this entire process is called as a CI/CD process, guys. So this entire process is called as a CI/CD. So what is a CI/CD? Continuous integration and continuous delivery. Okay, see, this is called as the entire CI/CD process, guys. Okay, so let's recall one more time. So we have a developers. So these developers, obviously, they are going to write the source code. Okay. So once the developer writes the source code, they are going to push that code to our VCS. Okay, using any one of the VCS. That is a gate or Subocean or VCS, anything. Okay. So this developer task is completed now. Okay. Now what we have to do is in a Jenkins, that is a CI tool, we have to integrate all these tools, okay, with a Jenkins. Okay, and then we have to create a one job in a Jenkins for every project. Okay, so then what this Jenkins is going to perform, so this Jenkins is automatically checking with this VCS. Okay, if there is any updated code is available in a version control system. Okay, so this Jenkins will automatically fetches that code and gives it to our SonarQube. Why? In order to check the quality of the source code. Okay, so once the SonarQube assures that the quality of the source code is so and so percent, then this Jenkins will automatically send the code to the build tool. Why? Because in order to create the artifacts here. So these are all called as the artifacts, we say. Okay. So once the build tool creates the artifacts, so this Jenkins will automatically pushes that code to our Nexus here. Why? Because in order to keep backup of our artifacts, right? So once it is done, so this Jenkins will automatically send the artifacts to our configuration management tool here. Okay, example Ansible or Chef or Puppet. So then this configuration management tool will push us the code to any number of servers, guys. Not only three here, if there are 100 servers are there, in 100 servers in a one single shot, they are going, this configuration management tool is going to do the deployment here. Okay, with a zero downtime. That is what the configuration management tool performs. Then comes the Docker, as the name suggests, I mean, containerization tool, that is a Docker. So this Docker we are using for mainly for the microservice architecture. Okay, so when we have to use it is whenever the team leads or business analysts, how they are done the architecture of their application. So based on that, we have to use this Docker containers here. Okay, now most of the organization, they are using this Docker microservice architecture here only. Okay, so using this Docker containers also, we can do the deployment as well. Okay, so then comes the monitoring tool. So this monitoring tool, it is going to monitor our infrastructure as well as our application here. Okay, so if anything goes wrong with your infrastructure or with your application, so this monitoring tool will send the notification to the supporting team member, like L1 support, L2 support. You might have heard about this, right? So this L1 support team members, what they are going to do is using any one of this ticketing tool, like a Jira, Service Desk, a number of ticketing tools is there. Okay, so using this ticketing tool, they are going to raise a ticket to this. They are going to raise a ticket. Okay, so if anything is wrong with your application, they are going to raise a ticket to the developers, right? Okay, if anything goes wrong with your infrastructure level, then they are going to raise a ticket to the DevOps engineers, guys. Okay, then we have to check that and we have to fix that issue, guys. Okay, and this entire process is called as a CI/CD process, guys, right? That is a continuous integration and continuous delivery. Okay, and one more thing, whatever the tools I have mentioned here, so most of them are freely available. Okay, that means we no need to purchase a license here, not only for learning purpose, in a real time also. Okay, we no need to purchase a license here. Most of the tools are freely available tools only. Okay, so any doubts, guys? Now you can unmute and ask your questions. If the process is automated on Jenkins, then what is the exact in our role? Like what exactly are we doing with the jar file and all? See, Siddiqui, okay. See, sometimes what happens, this Jenkins file may get failed here. Okay, why? Because the agent may go down, right? Or in the destination server, it may down, right? Or the space issue is there, or RAM issue is there, unnecessary processes are running, right? So for one or the other issues, it may get failed. Okay, so then we have to check why it got failed and everything, and then we have to fix that as well, right? Okay, yeah, guys. Any other doubts? You can unmute and you can ask your questions, guys. No need to drop a message. Yeah, we are teaching some of the services in the AWS as well. I will tell you the syllabus later on. So regarding this DevOps, any queries? Can we say DevOps as, sorry, Ravi, I didn't understand your questions. No, we are teaching only AWS, not Azure. Ravi, I think can we say DevOps as autom combination of development operation? Yeah, exactly. You are correct. Any questions? Any other questions? Hi, sorry, Siddiqui, some question is asking. Anyone close for Azure? See, guys, there are n number of clouds are available in the market, guys. Okay, if you have a knowledge on any one of the cloud, that is the same logic will be available in any all the clouds as well. Okay, operations means, as I understand from picture, deployment. Okay, one second, guys. Okay, Siddiqui has asked some question. Hi, so I'm sorry, I have some trouble with mic. How much of the roles involved in scripting or command line work? Are you giving just work with the mouse clicks on the tools, or is there going to be sustained amount of scripting here? Okay, see, Siddiqui, okay, whatever the tools which I have mentioned here, okay, so I'm teaching here from a scratch here, okay, and some of the tools will be having, we have to do the scripting as well. Okay, so scripting in the sense, don't hesitate, it is easy only. Okay, I will teach you from a scratch here. Okay, no worries. All the tools we are learning it from a scratch, guys. Okay, it will be having the command lines also. Okay, if see, I'll tell you the syllabus, guys. See, and in a real time, guys, most of the servers will be the Linux only. Okay, very less will be having the Windows. Okay, so we are teaching both Linux as well as in the Windows as well. How many days to completing the class? It is usually 2 months, guys, 2 to 2.5 months, and the classes will be from, I mean, 9 p.m. IST. Okay, it will be from Monday to Friday. If required, if everybody is available, we'll be having an extra sessions on weekends as well. If you want to complete the syllabus soon. Okay, if everybody is available, not mandatory, but within 2 to 2.5 months, we'll complete it. Anything else? Okay, so if no queries, yeah. So the syllabus includes, guys, any content provided. Yeah. So the syllabus includes, when will this video will be updated? This video will be updated. So this demo will be available in a YouTube, guys. You can go through it. And one more thing, so all the sessions is going to be recorded. Okay, so once the it is completed, so you'll be getting it into a Google Drive. Okay, initially it may delay. Okay, because we will be not having your mail IDs or any other contacts, right? Okay, so once the session starts regularly, you will get it all the recordings every day. Okay, without any delays. Okay, so then comes the syllabus includes here. So first we are going to teach on some of the commands in a Linux, because most of what are you going to practice on, what are we learning? Yeah, Siddiqui, you can message it in a public only, not private. like, are we going to learn exercise, etc.? Yes, Siddiqui. Okay, so basically whatever the tools I have mentioned, okay, so as I told you, from scratch we will learn. Okay, so I'll be providing the document as well. Okay, and we'll be creating the instance in the AWS cloud, and we can start working on that. Okay, I will not give my credentials, you have to create your own. Okay. Yeah. So first thing guys, we are going to teach the some of the basic commands, how the operating Linux operating system boots and everything. Okay. So on the Linux here. So once you guys are familiar with the Linux environment, because most of the time we'll be working on a Linux only, right? Okay. So we should be thorough with the Linux commands as well. Okay. So then we'll be working on a Git, that is the version control system, GitHub or GitHub. Okay, that is our VCS, that is a version control system. So whenever the developer commits the code, they are pushing that code to this VCS here, that is a GitHub. Okay, so once we get the code, what we are going to do is we have to check the quality of the source code. For that we are using Solar Cube, right, in order to check the quality of the source code here. Okay, so once we get the source code, then what we are going to do is we are going to create the artifacts. How? We are using the build tool. So build tool we are teaching is Maven. Okay, so Ant is the outdated one guys, and Maven is currently available in the market, and whereas the Gradle, which nobody is using right now, that is the upgraded tool, still nobody is using in the market. So hence we are teaching the Maven here. Okay, in order to create the artifacts, that is our build tool. Then Nexus, in order to publish the artifacts to our, for a backup purpose. Okay, then comes the Jenkins, that is our CI tool, that is a continuous integration. Then Ansible, sorry, introduction to Chef and Puppet will teach. Okay, then we'll be teaching on Ansible, that is our configuration management tool here. So for all these tools, you'll be getting the documentation, guys. Okay, I will send the documents, commands, examples, everything. Okay, you can just practice it out. Then for deployment, we'll be using the Tomcat and Wildfly as well. Okay, then the Docker for containerization tool, and some of the basic concepts in Kubernetes as well. Okay, Kubernetes is used for the orchestration, guys. That is in order to create a cluster. Okay, we are using this Kubernetes. Yeah, Ansible from beginning to end, Kuldeep. So anything I left? Nexus, Tomcat, Docker. Yeah, monitoring tool I left. Okay, so monitoring tool we can learn either Nagios or X. Anything is fine. Okay, so I think these are all the tools. And in AWS, guys. Okay, so since most of the organization they are asking for a cloud experience as well, so for that we are teaching the AWS cloud. Under AWS cloud we'll be teaching EC2 instance, that is one of the service. Then yeah, load balancer, then auto scaling, then VPC, that is a virtual private cloud. Then comes the storage. Okay, so these are all the 5 services which we are going to teach in a AWS as well. Okay, so this is what the syllabus guys for DevOps with AWS. Okay, so any questions? Any queries, guys? So the duration includes, as I told you, it will be 2 to 2.5 months, guys. Okay, and it will be from Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. IST. Any queries? Okay, fine guys. If no queries, then we'll wind up here. So the further the payment and all the Durgasort will coordinate with you peoples. Okay, and recordings also they are going to share. Okay, I'm just taking the sessions. So whatever the apart from sessions, anything else you can just check with Durgasort. Okay, so they are only going to share the meeting links and everything. So post our regular session, guys. So initially, I mean, after this, whenever we start the regular session, we will be having and free that anybody is okay. Okay, guys, then fine. Good night, guys. Bye. Have a great day.